you! It's me, your friendly haunt, Max! It looks like I'm dead! But I won't let that get me down. My mortal life may now be behind me, but I'm not done working! After all, the spooky season is upon us, and I've taken upon myself to haunt you all with my 31 Days of Maxtober! Throughout October, I will be posting a new mini-review for all kinds of Halloween movies and TV specials. Some of these I've seen before, but a lot of them I will have seen for the first time. So let's stop wasting time and get on to today's review! Deadly Friend! What an absolutely obscure movie for this month. I actually have a little bit of history going into this one. Remember when I did my top 10 favorite Halloween movies? No? Okay. Well, I struggled to come up with 10 back then, so I just kind of looked up movies that took place on Halloween and I found this little gem. Directed by Wes Craven himself, the man who created Freddy Krueger and is therefore responsible for my interest in horror. Based on the trailer, it seemed like a movie about a girl with crazy powers wreaking havoc on a town. These two factors got me very interested, and so I watched the movie. It did not make it onto my top 10. So I just wound up watching this movie for nothing. Until now! I finally have a decent excuse to share my opinions on this movie. Granted, I could have reviewed this movie at any time, but only now do I care again. Anyways, you might be thinking that I just don't like this movie based on how I'm talking about it so far, but it's not as simple as all that. There are a few things here that I enjoy, but I should first fill you in on what this movie is all about. A boy named Paul is a scientific genius who has created artificial life in the form of his wacky robot BB. Yep, this is actually a robot movie. It has nothing to do with the supernatural. That robot is in fact voiced by Charles Fleischer, who voiced Roger Rabbit. So the horror comes in when Paul's next door neighbor, Samantha, gets killed by her abusive father, and so Paul puts the chip that makes BB alive into Sam's brain, and things go horribly wrong. I'll start off by saying that this movie did effectively get me to care about its characters. I feel so bad for Samantha. She gets brought back to life, but only with small parts of her brain still active, while the rest of it is just replaced with BB's brain, so she's not really herself anymore. In fact, she's mostly just BB, especially as the film goes on. She was incredibly likable, so it sucked to see her get killed by her horrible dad. Though, as a robot girl, Sam is pretty hilarious. I can't tell how intentional that is, but her bug eyes and extended arms were funny to me, and I liked seeing her take revenge on the people that wronged both her and BB. That dad dying especially is very cathartic. I also feel really bad for Paul, who is in anguish over Sam's death and tries everything he can to save her, but he's ultimately left with a being that is not really Sam anymore. We see Paul pretty much ruin his other relationships over this, and it's kind of a bummer. I actually think this movie may be too much of a bummer at times, since it's pretty clear that Sam will never be whole again, and her unnecessary death will never truly be undone. So you're pretty much just waiting to see Paul crumble, and that's not a great feeling. But this movie's not all doom and gloom. It does have a true 80s horror movie inside of it. Like this insane kill where Sam destroys an old lady's head with a basketball. Damn! There are also like 2 nightmare sequences, which I can only assume are homages to A Nightmare on Elm Street, because they otherwise do not fit in here at all. Also, Sam's dad is pretty terrifying in this, so there is at least effective horror. But you may be wondering, how is this a Halloween movie? There's one scene where it's Halloween night! I'll allow it! You know, there's also one scene where it's briefly Thanksgiving, so according to my backwards-ass rules, this is also a Thanksgiving movie. I actually really like the score in this film. There are a couple of really good tracks that kind of help sell the emotional tone throughout, and I do think this movie can get pretty emotional. But as I said, it maybe becomes too much of a downer for me to enjoy, especially when we get to the ending. Towards the end, it actually looks like Sam is sort of getting her mind back, but that's when the police shoot her. It's pretty frustrating, especially when it leads to the whammy ending of Sam becoming a full robot and killing Paul? Come on, what the fuck is that? Maybe it's another out-of-place nightmare? But that's not confirmed, so I just kinda have to accept it like this. I had my fun with this movie, but I don't think it's one I'm going to rewatch very often. But if my description of it interests you, there's no harm in checking it out.